Hey lovelies! So I know that we talk a lot about Taco Tuesday, but as far as I'm concerned, every day could be taco day because that's how much I love them. Today I'm going to show you 3 new tasty takes on tacos that you may not have tried before, and all 3 are insanely delicious, loaded with flavor, color, and crunch that I think you're really going to love. Just before we get to that, I will mention Meals Made Easy is just a few weeks away and I could not be more excited. We have a ton of amazing things planned for launch, including some incredible giveaways, so stay tuned for those. If you haven't already, you can pre-order your copy now using the links in the description box. And if you do pre-order, you will get a sneak peek at 5 of my very favorite recipes from the book before they are available to anyone else. All of those details are in the description box, so be sure to take a look at that. And now let's talk about some tacos. Are you all set? We're gonna kick things off today with some amazing beef barbacoa tacos. I used to always order barbacoa tacos whenever I would go to a Mexican restaurant, but I was never really brave enough to make it myself until I came across an amazing recipe and realized how easy it actually is to do. Now, when it comes to our barbacoa, we are going to be doing most of our cooking in our slow cooker. But if you want to get a really excellent flavor, the best you can, I definitely recommend searing your beef in a pan first and then transferring it over. Today I'm using some beef chuck here. I've also seen this done with beef brisket. I like cutting my beef into cubes and then giving it a quick sear in a nice hot skillet to get it a little bit browned, caramelized on the outside, and just make that flavor really extra amazing. I would argue, guys, that this is one seriously important step if you want to make a really delicious barbacoa. Once your beef is nice and browned on all sides, you can transfer it to a plate, and then we'll get to work on our sauce. I'm going to be mixing up my sauce in a food processor, which makes this uber easy. I'm going to start with some chopped red onion. I've got some garlic headed in here, and when I say some, I mean a whole lot. As you can see, I'm using 4 cloves in this recipe. I've got some chipotle peppers in adobo sauce. For our liquid in this recipe, I am going to be adding some beef broth to this. I've also got just a touch of apple cider vinegar. Always nice to have a good acid in this recipe. And then we are going to add a whole lot of lime. Now, I will mention that this video has a ton of lime in it. So if you want to buy your limes in bulk, this would be a good time to do that. Hit this with a little salt and pepper and then give it a good blend. Now it's time to bring all of this together. Like I said, guys, I'm using my slow cooker for this recipe, but if you have a pressure cooker or a multi-cooker, you could totally pressure cook this in a fraction of the time. I love the idea of cooking things low and slow. I think you develop so much amazing flavor. So first step is going to be getting our beef into the pot. On top of that, I am going to pour my amazing sauce with all that gorgeous garlic and onion and chipotle flavor. And then we are going to spice things up, guys. So I have got a good helping of ground cumin headed in here, a little bit of oregano, some cloves, and 2 bay leaves. There is going to be a lot of flavor happening in this dish. We'll pop a lid on our slow cooker and let it cook away, either on high for 3 to 4 hours or on low for 6 to 8 hours. Obviously, if you can cook it on that low setting, you'll have even more time to develop that great flavor. While that beef is cooking away, we have time to make some pickled red onions. These are actually quick pickled, which is why I actually call them quickled red onions, not only because they're delicious, but also because it's fun to say. Now I am starting with a thinly sliced red onion. I'm just going to transfer that into a jar. It's important to make sure you have an airtight lid for your jar. Then I am going to add some apple cider vinegar. I'm going to add a little bit of sugar to this as well as some salt. A nice combination of sweet and salty is always a good idea. And then I'll just give this a quick stir until the sugar and salt have dissolved and the red onion is totally submerged in the vinegar mixture. I'm just going to pop a lid on this and get it into the fridge and let it work its quickle magic. These are gonna be amazing. Now, like most pickled things, the longer these sit, the more delicious they become. But in just a couple hours, you will have something really delicious to top that beef with. Speaking of beef, when your slow cook is finally complete, it will look a little something like this. and that means it is time to shred it all up. Now, something really magical happens when you slow cook beef. It gets uber tender and just starts to fall apart, which makes shredding this beef absolutely effortless. You'll just wanna make sure you discard those bay leaves before you get your shred on. And then this glorious mixture is ready to be devoured. I like serving it up on some white corn tortillas topped with those amazing pickled red onions, a little jalapeno, and some crumbled cotija cheese. Holy moly, guys, this is the stuff Taco Tuesday dreams are made of. Seriously. Next up, guys, I am making some chili chicken tacos topped with some incredible charred corn and this amazing sauce. These are a little reminiscent of traditional Mexican street corn, which is served with this super flavorful mayo-based sauce. So I think you guys are going to absolutely love this recipe. We're going to start by seasoning up our chicken. We want to let it marinate for a little bit and get it really, really flavorful. Now I'm using some chicken tenders here. If you can't find chicken tenders, just go ahead and use boneless, skinless chicken breast, cut it into strips. I am going to get it seasoned up with a little oil to start. Then I am going to fire in a combination of some chili powder, some garlic powder, and some ground cumin headed in here, as well as some fresh lime juice. Of course, we can't forget the salt and pepper, and then we'll just give this a toss and get it into the refrigerator for at least 30 minutes. But if you have a couple of hours, that is even better. While our chicken is marinating, we can get to work on our amazing sauce for these tacos. Like I said, this is going to be a mayo-based sauce, so I'm starting with some mayonnaise in my bowl. Next, I'm going to add a whole lot of lime, which of course I already mentioned. There's a lot of lime in this video. And then I'm going to add some cilantro, some minced jalapeno, a little bit of grated garlic, some chili powder, and some ground cumin. And trust me, guys, there is no better way to top a taco. I'll give that a quick whisk and set it aside while we get to work on charring up our corn in this recipe. Now, I'll just say this, if the weather was a little better where I am, I would definitely be taking some corn on the cob up to the grill and getting it nice and charred that way. But in the absence of a grill, if you want to get a little char happening on your corn, which brings out a nice smoky flavor and makes everything a little more delicious, you can do it in a cast iron skillet. I'm just gonna hit it with a little bit of oil, and once my oil is nice and hot, I'm going to pop my corn into the pan. I'm gonna let those cook up for between 5 and 7 minutes until they start to develop this amazing color. It makes everything a little sweeter and a little bit smokier and is perfect as a topping for our chicken. I'm going to be using this very same skillet to cook up my chicken, which is now beautifully marinated. The good news is, because I'm using strips of chicken here, it's going to cook up really, really quickly, usually within, say, 7 to 9 minutes. You'll just want to flip it once to make sure it gets cooked evenly on all sides. It's also really important not to crowd your pan here, so if you need to cook your chicken in batches, go ahead and do that. Once our chicken is fully cooked, we can go ahead and assemble our tacos. Guys, this is definitely one of those recipes you have to taste to believe. It's sweet, spicy, smoky, a little bit crunchy, and there is a ton to love here. Now, if you are looking for an amazing meatless taco option, look no further. My roasted sweet potato tacos with this lime crema are absolutely delicious. Of course, they all start with some sweet potatoes that I've peeled and cut into cubes. I'm going to add just a little bit of vegetable oil to them, and then I'm going to season them really liberally with some chili powder, some garlic powder, and some ground cumin. We'll hit that with a little salt as well, and then give it all a good toss. I'm going to transfer this onto a baking sheet and cook it up at 350 degrees Fahrenheit until it's nice and tender, which usually takes about 30 minutes or so, depending on how large your sweet potato chunks are. While those sweet potatoes are roasting away, we can get to work on the rest of our amazing toppings for these tacos, starting with some smashed black beans. Now, I basically have some canned black beans. I've drained them, rinsed them. I'm going to give them a little squeeze of lime juice and just a little hit of salt. And then I'm going to use a potato masher to just get them a little bit smashed up. The idea here is just to make them a little bit spreadable, because I'm basically going to be spreading this onto my tortilla as the base for these tacos. So we've got our roasted sweet potatoes and our smashed black beans. We want to add a little bit of crunch to these tacos. And to do that, I am going to be making a really simple cabbage slaw. Now, you could just add some regular plain cabbage to your tacos, but we want to give these tacos the royal treatment. They deserve it. I'm using a combination of red cabbage and green cabbage in this recipe. I'm going to hit that with a little bit of agave, some oil, and some lime juice and give it a good toss. Of course, as with any great slaw, the longer it sits, the better it gets. So if you can make this a couple hours in advance, you will have an extra slawsome slaw on your hands. True story. Our final but very important step for this recipe will be whipping up our lime crema. The base of this sauce is some sour cream. I'm going to add a little grated garlic to this, as well as the zest and juice of 1 lime. I'll whisk these up and then you can get your tacos assembled. Like I said, I like to start with a nice layer of black beans on the bottom, top that with my amazing roasted sweet potato, a little bit of cabbage slaw, and then finally that awesome lime crema that has such a gorgeous citrusy flavor. These are a total winner, guys. Don't believe me? You should definitely try them out for yourselves. In fact, I highly recommend trying all 3 of today's amazing taco recipes. And if you do, be sure to tweet me, Instagram me, or Facebook me a photo, because I always love seeing your kitchen creations. Remember, Meals Made Easy is just weeks away, and I'm so excited to share it with you guys. If you want to pre-order your copy, all the details are in the description box. And finally, if you haven't already, guys, be sure to subscribe, because there is lots more deliciousness where this came from.